Welcome back. In this episode, we're going to be looking at chapter 18, and as usual, I would start off by just reading and stop when I feel that I have something to say about what I've read. So, first verse. Then Bildad the Shuhite answered and said, so this is a response to Job, and in verse 2 carried on saying, how long till you put an end to words, gain understanding, and afterward we will speak. Why are we counted as beasts and regarded as stupid in your sight? So I'm going to stop there because I think somebody is feeling a bit uncomfortable here, or maybe feeling as if because it's been nothing but a battle of words between this group of friends against one man. In fact, if nothing at all, they are supposed to have come to comfort Job. He's the one that, suffered so much loss. Why are they in contention if they indeed are his friends? It doesn't matter how long they spend with him, they're going to go back to their families, and Job still would have to cope with this loss for the rest of their life. So why are they battling with him to show that they know better than him? That I do not understand. And I think this just shows you that I don't think these men are really, truly God-fearing. Because if they are, they would give Job the benefit of the doubt. Somebody that suffered that much loss, it is pardonable for him to even say things that you don't expect. And why are they trying to win arguments with him? And besides, I haven't seen anywhere that Job, because we've been reading from all the conversation from the beginning since they came, I haven't seen where Job said any of them is stupid. Yes, he called them miserable, comforters, which I think is deserving, but he hasn't called them stupid. I know he also said to them that what you know, I know. So don't come and start bragging. Everything you know, I know. So I'm not inferior to you. He said that, but he did not call them stupid. So I think it's the ego of these people that is really, that's what they're contending with, not Job, because they're certainly not helping him with all the things they're saying. What do you think? Now, in verse 4, he said, you who tear yourself in anger, shall the earth be forsaken for you, or shall the rock be moved from his place? Of course, Job didn't say that. And there's no way he has sort of suggested that things should shift for him. He just wants an explanation. And he's been trying to prove himself, that he hasn't sinned. And if anybody is in a position to put Job in his place, is God, not them. Because they don't even know what they're talking about. Now, in verse 5, he said, the light of the wicked indeed goes out. Okay, let's carry on. And the flame of his fire does not shine. The light is dark in his tent, and his lamp beside him is put out. The steps of his strength are shortened, and his own counsel cast him down. For he is cast into a net by his own feet, and he walks into a snare. I'm actually going to stop there, because what he's trying to describe here is that somebody that is wicked, a wicked man, would be, would be having troubles, it would not be successful, and he would fall into traps. That's what he's describing here. But you and I know, and I think this has always been the case, because the preacher said there's nothing new under the earth, under the surface of there's nothing new. Now, when preacher said that, it was talking about natural phenomena, the sun setting and rising, the sunrise and sets, and the rain and the season, as well as human behavior. We know these days that every human being has a pattern of behavior, and even in the olden days, it was the same. So there are certain things that does not change. One of the things that doesn't change, that I don't believe has changed as well, is the fact that wicked people find their way in this life. They can be more successful than people that are righteous. And it does not mean that they are brought to justice in their lifetime. Sometimes they are, but not always. So what he's describing here is as if the wicked will reap the fruit of their labor in this life. True, that is what's going to happen eventually, but doesn't always happen in our lifetime. And it doesn't always happen to people that you know that they have been doing wicked things, and within maybe 2-3 years you see them paying for their wickedness. Sometimes it does, but it's not always the case. So this man, I would say, is not 100% correct. So he carried on speaking and said, the net takes him by the heel, and a snare lay hold of him. A noose is hidden for him on the ground, and a trap for him in the road. Terrors frighten him on every side and drive him to his feet. His strength is starved, and destruction is ready at his side. He devours patches in his skin. The firstborn of death devour his limbs. So he's carrying on in the same line of thought that the wicked, they will reap the work of their hand. True, but it doesn't happen as swiftly as he's saying it here. And what is more disheartening is that he's saying all of this to say to Job that that's what's happened to you. You're a wicked person, and all of these things that's happened to you, you're reaping the work of your hand, which we know is not true. Now, verse 14, he said, he is uprooted from the shelter of his tent, and they parade him before the kings of terror. They dwell in his tent, who are none of his. In other words, people will take his possession. Brimstone is scattered on his dwelling. His roots are dried out below, and his branches withered above him. Verse 17. The memory of him perishes. Actually, when I was reading that, another verse of scripture came to mind. Let me finish reading that. The memory of him perishes from the earth, and he has no name among the renowned. I think that is right, though, because when you think about people that have done bad things, even if they don't get found out in this life, of course they're going to be found out. They're going to have to pay, meet God and be judged for whatever they've done. Then, when they die, people around them may not be under the same constraint to hold their tongue. They are not obliged to, to still see or speak of him fondly, even though I know that this doesn't happen all the time as well. So you see, what this man is driving at is trying to look for ways to attack Job. And a lot of the logical thing, a lot of the logic he wants to use are not watertight, because some of these things that is listed here are not really true. They're not always the case. Sometimes they are, but not always. So going back to verse 17, where he says, the memory of him perishes from the earth. I was talking about Proverbs. I remember a verse in Proverbs. Let me read that. It says, the memory of the just is blessed, but the name of the wicked shall rot. I would never forget that verse, because it is one of the verses that as a young Christian I used to quote wrongly, and I'm going to talk about it now. So in Proverbs 10 verse 7, it says, the memory of the just is blessed, but the name of the wicked shall rot. So as much as the people may not be feeling confident to come out in the open to talk about somebody that's wicked in his lifetime, they don't have any constraint to have fond memories of him when he's gone. And that's what the proverb is saying. It's not even saying that their name will be maligned, or that they will face justice, or be brought to or face the reward of their works. It's not even saying that. It's just talking about the fact that people would not remember him fondly. Whereas somebody that has been good, when he's gone, when they're no more, when people remember them, they will have fond memories. That's all he's saying there. So the memory of him perished from the earth. I think that's the only thing that this man has said so far that I'm going to agree with. Having said that, there are some people that would have been loyal to the wicked when he was alive, and even after his death, because they have maybe benefited from him, from the wicked person, they may still speak of him, fondly. Strange things happen in this life. And I once remember one of my friends that we were walking, and she said to me that we saw a monument, and the monument was of somebody. I didn't know the person, but she knew the history, and she was telling me that it's the monument of a famous robber that lived, somebody that was an armed robber that lived in our neighborhood. And I thought, that's strange. Why would there be monument for somebody that did not live a good life? And she said to me that it was a common practice. I may be wrong, but this is what somebody told me, and I want to believe that she was right, because she's quite an educated person and she knows a lot about history. And she said, this is what she said, that it was common practice in England then to name places like pubs after people that were maybe notorious or things like that. So you can even see that maybe it was not only England that area that was done, maybe in other places as well. So if people that were bad were given monuments, maybe it's just to remind people in that area that there used to be a notorious person, and don't go and be like them, to say to children or people around. Maybe that's the reason. But I was shocked when I saw, and my friend told me that that's the monument for somebody that was notorious in the area. I would not have thought that would have been done, but that was the case. So let me know your thoughts about this. So he carried on saying, he is driven from the dark into the darkness and chased out of the world. Okay? He has neither son nor posterity among his people, nor any remaining in his dwelling. Those in the west are astonished at his day, as those in the east are frightened. Surely such are the dwelling of the wicked, and this is the place of him who does not know God. Okay? I'm not sure I know what to say about that, but that's what Bildad the Shuhite had to say to Job. Thank you for spending your time with me again today. And so today we've looked at chapter 18, and in the next episode we're going to be looking at chapter 19. God bless.